Dope16.com.
What's up, man? It's your man BZ, Dope16.com. I want to do this blog because I felt like somebody needed to make a statement about what's going on in the current hip hop scene in Louisville, Kentucky. I know that there's been some protesting going on against B96.5, and I'm just gonna let you know this. I don't really agree with the methods and how people are trying to receive results from B96. I believe that if you're gonna make a protest, you should make sure that you've also tried to go through the proper channels in order to achieve your goal first. If someone refuses to deal with you in a certain manner because you went through the proper channels, then yes, I can agree with doing a protest. But before this protest happened, for those who don't know what's going on, it's about local music not being played on B96, and I think a lot of people just don't understand that there's a lot of issues that were behind local music being pulled from B96.5's airwaves. Yes, it's a radio station and they want to make money, but there was also a lot of violence, attached to a lot of the local shows, and actually is one of the reasons why when I did Dope16, when I first started Dope16 in 2008, even we had issues with artists, and beef and drama, and then people actually feeling like I had certain obligations to them because they were local artists. First and foremost, an entity like radio, they're there to make money first. And I know a lot of artists understand that, and they feel like that the radio station should, cater to the local scene. And I can agree with you on that. And matter of fact, the people at radio they agree with you also. But people have to understand that if you haven't went through the proper channels to even get on radio, then you really don't have a dog in this fight. Plus also, a lot of people don't realize radio is not the first stop in order to build a fan base or to get notoriety or awareness. Radio is a result of your hard work in building a fan base. You don't cut a song and then put it on the radio the next day and expect to have 1 million fans. It's not how it works. Radio is one of the last places that you go. When you put a song out, well, I'll say this: when you're building a brand as an artist and building your career, you're supposed to reach out to people, and radio is not the first place you do that at. You have to actually put in the groundwork. I mean, you have to do shows. You have to get your music in the hands of other people, and you have to build that fan base. And as you build that fan base, then you become, best way to put it, you become a commodity to entities like radio and whatnot. You become something that is valuable. Once you become valuable in terms of popularity and people wanting to having a demand for your music, then entities like radio, they're going to use your songs as something to play next to this corporate sponsored ad. That's what radio's about. They put songs next to ads. Well, those songs have to be from artists with notoriety, artists with fan base. Now, there's been, in the past, we did have some local artists on the radio, and like I said, it caused a lot of issues. You had people actually threatening DJs if they didn't have their songs on the radio. You had artists shooting at each other because, out of jealousy and things, whatnot. I mean, that really looks bad when you go to corporate America, and when the corporate offices look back and see that kind of stuff, they say, okay, look, in order to nip that in the bud, we'll just pull all the local music off. If local acts are getting songs on the radio, but you can't download their music, or they're not really putting in the work that's required in order to really build a fan base and in order to really keep that kind of attention, then you have no use on radio anyway. People really need to realize that the notoriety that you want from radio is actually, a lot of people are not really even to the stage yet with their music. I'm not talking about quality wise, I'm talking about fan base wise. Not even to that standpoint where you need radio. And people just need to really understand that and understand how the process works. You gotta realize also, when you don't involve the actual listeners, but then you have, listeners on social media that are listening and saying, okay, I don't understand the movement, or I don't necessarily agree with the movement. And you have people in the movement actually, cussing out the people that don't agree with the movement. I mean, you gotta understand, when you make a protest, everyone's not gonna agree. But if you lash out at the people who don't agree, it's counterproductive. If you don't include the people that you want to listen to the music, it's counterproductive. Going into this protest, it was all about the artists, and the artists weren't even acknowledging the fact that the listeners weren't requesting it. You have to make sure that you include them, because let's just lay it out there. The two important things for radio is the advertisers and the listeners. And if you don't include either one, you don't have any leverage. So, I mean, it's just fundamental mistakes that, that were made in there. And, to be honest, it seemed like a big ego thing. It seemed like an ego thing. It really didn't seem like it was going for the people, because if it were, the people would be given some of the information that I'm sure was given to the leadership. The leadership should have let you know, hey, guess what? They were already working on this. But no, leadership didn't tell you that. Leadership went in there and had meetings and came back out and went on an ego trip, after shaking hands with people. And then, shaking hands with someone and then blasting on social media, I mean, that's counterproductive. A lot of things were counterproductive. It's not just handling it unprofessionally, it's completely counterproductive. And it makes you really question, what it was really about. I stand by my statements on that. Those are not the statements of B96 or anything. Those are my statements. So I stand by. I stand by my statements on that, because at the end of the day, positive progress could have been made, but instead, it seemed like everything negative was attached to it, and we really can't have that. The scene can't take that. The scene actually took a couple steps back. And like I said, I'm privy to a lot of information. I'm privy to a lot of conversation that almost turned into altercation, and all of it was based on people demanding something and just being angry that they weren't getting it, as opposed to finding out what steps they need to take to actually get it, and then their leadership, letting that be known. But at the end of the day, there's still time to make progress here, and there's still time to turn this into positive unity as opposed to negative. The people that were in charge of leadership, I can tell you right now, they're not going to deal with those people. I'm just going to let you know right now. I do know that they're not going to deal with those people. A bond was made and then trust was broken. You can't deal with a negative force, especially when you try to meet that negative force with positive and try to make something happen, and then more negativity comes out. You just can't do it. So before this spirals into something that doesn't need to be, I definitely want to step in and make a statement about this and tell everybody, look, I've already been talking to people, a lot of respected people, a lot of people that the local music community respects, and people that even listeners respect. As you notice, a lot of people that do have that notoriety weren't even involved in this. I mean, there's a reason behind that. And I believe this movement is really based on ignorance from the top, from the leadership of this movement that's been going on. From the top down, it's been a lot of ignorance and a lot of information that's not being shared with the people who want to jump into the movement. Now, I have no problem with people who want to be a part of something and want to be a part of making a change. That's great, and everybody can be applauded and saluted for that. They really need to take a step back. I mean, when a protest turns into, when you take a protest and you get a meeting with the people that you're protesting, and then you turn around and you start bashing the same people that shook your hand, I mean, that at that point, what are you doing? At that point, you're trying to strong arm the situation. At that point, you're trying to force a business to behave the way you want them to behave, and there's no progress to be gained there. You can't force them to do anything. That's one thing you have to really understand. And then on top of that, you just have a lot of anger going on because people really don't know really how the process works. I know they claim they do, but they don't. And it's turning into a lot of social media altercations, which turn into real life altercations. And we really don't want that, because that was one of the problems why the music was pulled in the first place. So we really need, we really need people to stop and realize, look, real progress needs to be made, and you can't force them to do anything. Now, I'm privy to a lot of information that goes on in the local music scene, just from who I deal with, on a daily basis, the people I talk to, the people I shake hands with, rub elbows with, whatever you want to say. And I will tell you this, and this, I'm not speaking on behalf of B96.5. It's not my job. I'm not qualified to do that. I don't work with them. This is not me speaking for them, but I will tell you this. I was made privy to information that, a lot of people don't really have, and the dialogue to put local music was already in the works. That dialogue already existed at B96.5, and it existed, on a level above just the local office here. And by the way, the local office does not make the major decisions on what goes on and off the air. You know, that stuff comes from a program director who also has to answer to a corporate office. So people have to understand that kind of protocol. You know, there's a way to go about things. If you don't follow the protocol, you're not really gonna get anything done. Before you run and demand someone do something for you, pick up a phone first, call, and see what you need to do first. You know, call meetings first. Protest first, that automatically puts people on their heels, and they're gonna be less likely to work with you. It just so happens in this particular instance, they still open their doors to the protesters, and they still turned after the meeting, and they still kept going with the social media, and ultimately, you know, started making our community take another step back, and we don't really need that. This market is too small to be taking steps back. We need to take steps forward, which is the reason why I'm speaking right now. But going back to what I was saying, B96.5 actually, for the last few months, has been trying to implement mechanisms to where artists can earn, you know, spots on air. Milestones and guidelines that you can actually get a fair shake at getting your songs played on the radio. Now, will it be open for everybody? No, and it shouldn't be. You know, let's be honest, it should not be open to everyone. I mean, they still have quality that they have to, you know, they still have quality that, you know, they have to keep up. But there will be ways, you know, and that stuff's coming, and it was already coming before any of this. But if someone just, you know, took the time out to say, hey, you know, these are the concerns, you know, do you have anything in place? Can I make suggestions? You know, no suggestions were made. It was just a protest of do this and demand this. And it's like a strong arm. You can't do it. It's like negotiating with terrorists. B96.5 was already working on some things in order to get local artists on the radio, and they're still going to continue to do it. A lot of people that are trying to strong on them, I mean, I'm telling you, it's just really a bad look for you. In the end, you're probably gonna hurt yourself. Let's not go in there and burn bridges when you don't need to. And you know, I can tell you right now, you know, the movement that's been going on right now, some major bridges were burned. You know, I know this, you know what I'm saying? I know what's going on. Major bridges were burned. You know, as a local artist, you don't really want to attach yourself to that. You want to attach yourself to something that's moving forward and progressive. The people I've talked to, you know, in those offices do have the same concerns that we do, and they also are trying to work with their corporate office in order to make it all make sense. So honestly, just saying play the music, you know, whatever, you know, phrases you want to use, just saying that is not going to force anybody to do anything. Riding by blowing a horn, it's not going to do anything. You have to actually sit down and help plan these things. And even if you're not going to help plan, just be supportive once those plans do come out. And I will tell you this, you know, I will be at the forefront of a lot of things that are coming, you know, from the radio station and just in the local movement, you know, with music anyway. Like I said, you know, if anybody's paid attention to social media, Dope16.com, like I said, back in 2008, all we did was just, you know, film freestyles and try to get local artists a lot of exposure. And eventually we went to battle rap. The reason why we did that is even though battle rap seems like it's a competitive sport, so we found a way to get, you know, the area some exposure through a competitive sport. It's not a beef starting, you know, thing, anything. It's actually, you know, it's pretty healthy. You know, it's a pretty healthy and competitive sport, and you know, a lot of people enjoy it. We've managed to actually get people to a local show that afterwards, you know, you saw a competition and you saw rap and you saw that people are really lyrical here, but then you didn't have all of the other drama and politics that was going on before. But I feel like now a lot of people just really need to be, you know, to be shown, look, there's a correct way to do things. And definitely, you know, I want to be one of the people that steps up and says, look, you know, there's people that need to really learn what they need to do in order to succeed, you know, in music. There's some people that do deserve some radio play. That, you know, they're putting in that work. I'm not saying everybody doesn't deserve it, but you just have to understand it's not the first place that you need to be whenever you're trying to move your music. It's just really not. Anybody that's been played on the radio will let you know the same thing. It's not the first stop in order to build your fan base. It is a cog in the machine, but you got to make sure that you're to that part of the machine. So, you know, I just want people to move in a positive direction. And, you know, I'm also working with a lot of really prominent and respected people in the local music scene. And we're actually trying to, you know, bring things together so that people can thrive and people can actually know what they need to do in order to take the next steps. But unless you're getting the information from the people who actually make the decisions, a lot of your efforts, you know, won't be as efficient. So I want to help in making sure that people get that information that they need. And, you know, since there's a lot of people out here that are respected in the music community and that's, you know, just made different moves and, you know, have these resources and connections that we can give to everybody. in order to, you know, to make some progress. The progress is being made, and it was already being made on their side. You know, I'm not here to just try to defend them, but I'm giving you the facts. The facts are the facts. It would better serve us to work with them, because you can't work against someone who can make the decisions that you can. So, you know, like I said, let's all come together. Like I said, I will definitely be giving you more information, you know, as it comes out. You know, if there's going to be any kind of, you know, workshops, seminars, whatever we need to do that we feel like will be productive in the local hip hop scene. You know, if we need to organize it, but we're definitely already working with the right people in order, you know what I'm saying, to make this something that's positive, and we actually get, you know, there's a way to get what you want, but you have to make sure you go through the proper channels in order to do it. Easy. It's Dope16. Appreciate y'all watching. Like I said, we're gonna make some efforts to make things happen, and you know, everything else, we don't need the foolishness. We don't need to go at each other on social media. We don't need people, you know, saying this and this about the different personalities. I mean, those are people you want to work with. You do not want to go against those people. You know, you don't have to suck up to anybody, but at the same time, you know, don't shoot yourself in the foot when you don't have to. Because at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, there's a lot of people who really are working for local artists, but the simple fact that you don't have the information right now, you know, I know there's anger, I know there's emotions, whatever, but the information is there. We're definitely going to be one of the sources to get that information. But that's it. Signing off, Dope16. Appreciate y'all watching. Y'all stay tuned. Dope16.com.